Hi everyone, it's Maddie Brady. We're here to get real about mental health. Stay tuned for some great conversations with some very special guests. Hi everyone, it's Maddie Brady here with David Millar to talk about sobriety, getting young sober, and what it's like to be on a college campus sober, as well as some pretty impressive races he's done as well.
Yes, thank you, Maddie. My name's David. Grateful to be here. Grateful that you extended the invite to have me on. I'm 23 years old. I'm a student at college, and I got sober almost 4 years ago. I got sober, so I've been sober for a little bit of time, and I got sober pretty young. I was 20 years old when I got sober. I just turned 20. And what age did you get sober again?
So I got sober when I was 21. I tried when I was 20. It was more so at first it was more people were pushing me to.
Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of family members, a couple different people were pushing me in that direction. And the problem was still in denial.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem. I'm just having fun. Everyone's doing this. So I was sober for about 4 months.
Okay.
And it didn't stick because I just never fully accepted it. At the time, I even was saying, I'm just taking a break. I'll take a break for 2 years. And I just was not accepting that I actually did have a problem.
Yeah.
So then as soon as I started drinking again, obviously immediately just the floodgates opened.
Yeah.
And I eventually got to the point, it wasn't that much longer after, it was maybe 5 months after I started drinking again, I realized that I wanted to get sober, and then that was when it actually
That's
stuck.
when it sticks, yeah. And I feel like that's usually when it sticks. That's when it stuck for me, too. I know that I was, to a degree, forced into it. I had gone to rehab a bunch of times, and it wasn't really working out for me, and I would always just come home, and, nothing would really change. Mm-hmm. And I remember I got flown out to California, and that's actually, where, my journey began, was out there, and I was in, a structured sober living out there, so that was, heavy on accountability, heavy on rules and structure and principles, and making sure that you're staying on top of your stuff. And that was just an environment that I had personally never been in. Mm-hmm. I would never really hold my friends accountable. I didn't really see the point in it. I didn't see the point in living a structured life. I was very instant gratification focused. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to be gratified. I wanted to be happy, and I didn't really want to put in any of the work. But when I came to this place, it was super cool because I remember this so vividly. So I was we would all sleep in bunk beds, and there was a ton of people in the house. And I just remember one of my first mornings there, my bed was shaking, and my roommate was waking up, and it was 4 or 5 in the morning, and he's waking up, and I'm just I turn over, and I'm just dude, where are you going? And he's going to a meeting, man. And because the house required you to do so many different things that was house focused, and then you also had a full-time job. You also people wanted to get physically fit, so people wanted to go to the gym, so that was a whole separate thing. And then people wanted to reconnect with their family, but no matter how big your life got, you still had to respect the house rules, and you still had to respect you still had to show up in the house, you still had to help the new guys that were coming in. And by the grace of God, I was kind of put in a situation where there was a really good group of people in the house while I was there. And it really just rung on me that hey, I want to be that kind of person that takes things seriously. I want to be that kind of person that wakes up early, that still continues to show up, that doesn't get complacent, and that's there for the new guys coming into the house that, as it's very hard, especially if you're young and you're getting sober. I think the hardest thing, hindsight, looking back at the journey, is when you get sober, it's there's so much pain involved. I feel there's so much pain because even when you remove, I think a big misconception is people think that okay, you remove the drink and then you start getting better. That's not how it works necessarily for a lot of people. I know some people might work that way. didn't work that way for me. So like you remove that from me and like I started to like kind of get worse. Like I really had to like focus on myself. I really had to like look at myself. I had to be honest with myself. I had to feel these emotions that like I hadn't felt in like forever. And it was just like a very, very like uncomfortable adversity, like pain, like obstacles, challenges, like every single day. And I remember like waking up and I remember like just being uncomfortable from literally the second I woke up until the second I went to bed. And looking back at it now, it's like that was so important because like what I didn't realize, because I didn't have any experience with like challenges or pain in my life at the time, but what I can see now is like that pain, like if you give it enough time and you just kind of sit in it and you don't give up and you see it through to the end, like that pain turns into power, turns into like discovering like parts of yourself that like you didn't even know existed. And it turns in and it just like kind of blossoms into all these like great things. But in order to get there, you kind of just have to like sit through that adversity for a little bit. And that's what I had to do. And I think the hardest thing about being sober young and like getting sober young was that like you don't necessarily like I didn't have that experience. Like I didn't know that like it was going to like get better. Like I didn't know that, you know? So like I just remember like waking up every day and I was just like, well, you know, like I guess this is just how it's going to be. Like my life's just going to suck and I'm just going to have to like be miserable and like work through all this anxiety and depression. But eventually it like got to the point where I was like, hold on a second, like this, like it's getting like a little bit better. Like I'm sitting through it and I'm experiencing like all this pain and all this suffer. But like I am like beginning to like understand myself and I'm beginning to like face my fears and I'm beginning to like write stuff down on paper and like see myself for like who I actually am. You know what I mean? And I think like now, and I think like one of the best gifts like about like this program and about this process is that your perception on pain changes. So like my perception on pain, like when I was 30 days clean or whatever, was like, I didn't want anything to do with it. Now that I have that experience of like going through like some hard times and like seeing like the end result, like seeing what happens if you like stick and stay, like, and you just continue to fight until you get to the end and it kind of like blossoms. Like now that I have that, it's like when challenging things come my way, like today in life, like with some time under my belt, it's like, okay, like this is good. Like this is good. Like there was like a point and this journey is just like so like and I know yours is too, because we've talked, but it's just like so like crazy. Like I bet you've like never thought that you would just be sitting here like in New York City, like doing a podcast. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. It's just like crazy. And I have those same experiences like, and like all the time, you know? So when, forget where I was going with that.
I mean, I definitely can relate based off of what you were saying about pain. I feel like prior to getting sober, my life was just so surface level. I had painful experiences that I went through, but I numbed them out so much that I just continued to just live on the surface and not want to actually feel or live in those feelings. And I feel like once I was able to, exactly what you're saying, experience that pain, I'm able to use that now for my everyday life.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like everything now is so much deeper. Like I appreciate things so much more because I have been in the places that I've been, and even like working out, like I try to revisit those memories. I even have playlists that kind of go through each time period of my life and remind me of those things, because I don't like to forget about that. I don't like to forget about the things that I've been through. As much as I try not to harp on them, I use it as motivation to continue to try to be better every single day. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like where I was going with that was that like sobriety kind of like teaches you that like pain isn't necessarily like a bad thing. Like I feel like it's a big misconception. Like it's okay to like be unhappy for a little bit. It's okay to be in like a dark place. It's okay to like not feel like fulfilled or not feel like your best self yet, because like as you said, it's like that dark place, like dark places teach you things that bright places will never teach you. You know, so it's like important to like sit in that accept that like this is where I'm at, like this is what's going on, like let me be honest with myself, let me analyze the situation. Okay, I'm not doing good. Like once you accept that, then it's like, okay, now I can start growing, now I can start like devising like a way to get out of this. But with being sober, I feel like that like perception and that misconception of like pain like kind of changes, because like there was like one point in my journey where every single like obstacle that like showed up in my way, it was just like, instead of my mind clicking to like self-pity, like why me, like not again, like all of a sudden I'm clicking to like character building opportunity. Like this is like a perfect opportunity for me to like dig in and like go deeper and then like get to the other side of it. And I know that I'll come out a different person, because like I have that experience. Like I've gone through a lot of like things. I've been in a lot of dark places, and I've came out, and every single time I come out, like I'm always like, wow, I'm so glad that I did that. I'm so glad that I like didn't give in to like that voice in my head that was like telling me to stop, you know?
100%. Yeah. I feel like that was one misconception. Well, first of all, I think the first year is the hardest, because
it is.
You're experiencing all of that pain, and you're going through the first of kind of everything, your first difficult situation of X, Y, and Z. And it's hard to get through those things at first, initially sober. But I do feel like with what you're saying is exactly true. Like once you are able to get sober, it's like nothing else will be able to stop you. Like I've gone through dark days now, and sometimes for just a moment I get stuck in the, how am I ever going to get over this? How am I ever going to get through this? And being able to kind of look in my internal vault and be like, okay, I remember my first couple days of being sober and those feelings. And if I could get through that first week, I can get through this tenfold. Yeah. And I'm able to visualize now, because exactly what you're saying. I never pictured that I would be here sitting on a couch in New York City talking about this. And the fact that I know that I made it so far, whatever I'm in right now, I can look past and say, okay, it might not be a week, it might not be 2 weeks, but eventually I'm going to look back on this situation and think the same thing. Think like I was able to get through that, and there's really nothing that I'm not going to be able to get through.
Yeah. And like our past becomes like our biggest asset. And I was like told early on too, I was like, if people would tell me like, if you can like get this down and you can figure this out, like you can do anything. Yeah. And that's held true for me too. I've done like, I'm back in school. I like take academics like seriously. I'm an athlete. I run a lot. You know, I've done like a lot of like, I feel like somewhat challenging things. And none of them have came close to like those first like 6 months of sobriety where it's just brutal. Like it's just so brutal. And there's really like, and I get people that call me all the time too, that like slip up, or they're like trying to get sober or whatever. And it's just so hard, because it's like, I want to tell them something on the phone that's like a one-liner that's like going to fix them like right there. And they're just going to have this awakening and their perception is going to change. But like, that's not it. Like sometimes the answer, like sometimes there is no answer. Sometimes there's no answer. Sometimes you just have to literally just sit and you just have to feel it out, and you just have to like let it hit you, and you just have to kind of like figure out a way through that maze until you get to the end. Yeah. You know, and I'm so, you know what, I'm so glad that like when I was first getting clean and I was going through that maze, I'm so glad that nobody like gave me a shortcut. Like nobody gave me like a blueprint. Nobody told me like an easy way out, because like I needed to just sit in that, and I needed to figure it out for myself, and I needed to like find myself in that dark place, you know? And that was like another big thing at the house I was talking about too, was like accountability. Like, and your roommates holding you accountable, and you're expected to also hold your roommates accountable. And I feel like what I've done like a really good job at just in life is like taking that philosophy outside of the house and like bringing it with me to college, bringing it with me to with family, bringing it with me like with friends, and just have like this idea that like you want to have people around you that have your best interest in mind, you know, because I feel like a lot of us, especially people that are like trying to get sober, and this applies to people that aren't even like sober and just like want something better for themselves. It's like there's a quote, and the quote is, the person that you ultimately become depends upon two things, and those two things are the books that you read and the people that you have around you. And I have a lot of people in the rooms that they'll come up to me and they'll be like, you show me who your friends are and I'll show you who you're going to be in 25 years.
Yeah.
And that just makes a lot of sense to me because it's like, yeah, like I feel like a lot of us do become like the people that we have around us constantly, you know? So like I have found that I need to be very intentional about who I have around me. Like who am I spending the most time with? Like, do these guys have my best interest in mind? Are they willing to get uncomfortable and like tell me that I'm doing something wrong, even if it's going to hurt my feelings? Because like, that's what I want in my life. You know, that's what's gotten me to the point that I'm at now is like that accountability. And it's reciprocal. It goes both ways. It's like, okay, you pull my covers, but I'll also pull your covers. You know, if I see you slipping up and I see that you're not aware of it, then I'll tell you what's up. And I'll be like, yo, I've been seeing that you've been doing this. And like, I just think you should take a look at that. Yeah. You know? I think just being like intentional with that has been like a game changer for me too. Cause, you know, there's like a lot of people out there that kind of aren't willing to step on your toes in the moment. And then they'll end up like stepping on like the grave of your untapped into potential, like down the road. And that's like the worst case scenario, you know, like I would rather be told like straight up front, like if I'm doing something wrong and let me like go and fix it. Like, even if I have to like take a step back and it hurts my pride and it hurts my ego and it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's like, I'd rather know right now and then like, you know, change it. And that ultimately like makes you closer with that person too. Like it builds, like it makes the relation stronger. It makes the relationship like healthier. Yeah. So that was like a big thing at the house as well, that you know, I still try to like make sure that I'm like kind of like abiding by that standard in my life today. So
yeah, definitely. I think accountability is huge. And that's one thing I think that I'm really good with self-accountability to a point where a lot of times I'm really hard on myself, where I've gotten myself into situations since being sober where I get really, really hard on myself, that I just think I'm a mental health advocate. I'm always talking about trying to be mentally healthy. How did I even get myself in this situation? Or how did I end up doing this? And I think it's really important to be able to hold ourselves accountable and be able to realize that even when you're sober, your life's not going to be perfect. Yeah. But it's about recognizing your mistakes and being able to really look at what you're doing and be self-aware and just be able to fix it moving forward. Yeah, for sure. And a lot of like that, like the self-accountability that I've built today, like that first started from like holding my roommates accountable. And then I was like holding my roommates accountable, and then they would hold me accountable. And then next thing you know, it's like that kind of like rolls its way into, okay, now I have like the self-accountability. And like you said, like that's super important as well. Definitely. And so you got sober in college. What was that like? Because I know I got sober when I was younger, but I was taking a break between college, so I really didn't have that experience of being on a campus sober. Yeah, so I got sober. I had a problem on campus, and then like I left campus, like I took a leave, and then I went through like just a bunch of different like rehabs and stuff like that, trying to get sober. Wasn't really working, and then I finally like got to the right place, had the right mindset going into it. Stuff changed. And I ended up coming back over here to go to school. So I was out in LA and I did like a year out there, and I like graduated from the house I was at. And I came back here because I was like, I want to go back to school, you know? And that was like a weird thing, because like a lot of people, first of all, there's not like a lot of young people that are like sober, that are like taking it seriously. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the other problem with that too is that like colleges today are like, it's just like so like typical, like, you know what I'm talking about? It's just like everybody, like I feel like half the people, and like this is my university, like I don't want to speak for every college, but like a lot of people like aren't there for like academics. A lot of people aren't there. They're like partially for academics, but it's more than that. It's like social life, it's like sororities, fraternities, like partying, like. And I get that. Because, like, I've been there. So, like, there's no judgment there. There's no judgment because, like, I've been there. So, like, I totally understand. But that makes it kind of hard for somebody that's, like, sober, that's, like, trying to, like, get, like, a degree or something, or, like, enhance their knowledge. And, like, I'm coming back to college and I'm kind of, like, nervous about it because I'm like, well, I definitely don't want to, like, go back to, like, drinking. And, like, I don't want to, like, get, like, thrown back into the mix of that. So, like I said, like I kind of just had to be very intentional, and I had to like apply the principles that I learned out west over here in the East. Like accountability was one of them.
There was like a multitude of others, but I kind of had to like make sure that I was like really intentional with like the morals and the principles that I was living by, the people that I had around me. I didn't know anybody sober over here, so I had to literally like build like a whole network of people the same time that I was like going back in to take classes and stuff like that. But my experience with it has honestly been great. I was like a little bit like worried about it at first, but it's funny that we talk about this too, because I was just on the phone like yesterday with one of my friends, and I was just saying like, because I'll be graduating in May, and when I came back to school, it was like, I just remember like I wanted to be in and out. Like I didn't want to do anything extra. I was just like, I don't want anything to do with like the college life. I just want to show up to class, like do well, score well, and like just leave. And that's really how I felt about it at first. But I was on the phone with my friend, and I was just like, dude, it's crazy because like literally this whole like 2 years have just blossomed into like all these like blessings. Like so many things have like opened up, and I wasn't even trying. I wasn't even really like trying for that to happen. But like the team, like my coach, like just people I've met, like professors, like I've never had like good relationships with my professors or my teachers. Yeah. Like that's like totally new to me. So like stuff like that happening and just opening up like these opportunities to have like these wonderful experiences has just been like super amazing to go through on campus. And like the thing I'll say too about like getting sober young, it's like, dude, if you get like sober young, like what if you can like get past like those first initial like couple months and like first year like we were talking about, it's like, and you're young, especially if you're young, but this applies too if you're older, but you just like it puts you on like this different level than like everybody else, because it's you're not drinking. Like I know that like I know there's people out there that like just don't like decide not to drink and like don't drink like at all. Personally, like in my life and like with the people that I have around me, like at school, like I don't know anybody that just doesn't drink to like not drink. Like everybody drinks a little bit, even if it's like healthily. So like if you're like coming back to school and you're sober and like you have your shit together, it's like you are going to stand out like a sore thumb, like even if you don't want to, but in a good way, because like you have all this extra time and you have yourself together. You're beginning that process of like self-discovery. You're beginning that process of healing. And it's like, if you can like get that together and come to school, it's just like you will do so well, because you'll have all your ducks in a row and you'll be able to like focus on academics and like take it seriously. So that's where it's been cool for me too, because I've had like both college experiences, right? Like I had that experience where I was like, didn't care, like just wanted to do my thing, like wanted to have fun. And then I came back and just had like this pure like academic, like athletic like experience, which has been like crazy. It's just crazy to think about, because nothing changed. Like I came and went from the same school. So like nothing changed about the environment I was in. I came back the same major at first, so nothing changed there. Nothing really changed about the people going to school. The only thing that changed was me. So like I was miserable when I wasn't sober and I was like drinking all the time at school. I left, I got my stuff together, I came back, the environment's the exact same, but now I feel like okay with myself. So it's like an internal deal. You know, it's like an internal like process and journey. And it's like you have to clear all these things that are kind of like blocking you, you know? So it was like, that was like a big like eye opener for me, because I came back and I'm at the same school and I'm like doing homework one night and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. Like I'm actually like kind of happy with my situation right now, and nothing else really changed except me, you know? So
wow, that's really powerful. Especially knowing that you went back to the same school. I did not have that experience at all, and I cannot imagine going back to the exact same environment and having to master that exact same environment. That's really, really interesting and really unique. I know for me, so something similar, environment that's very heavily focused on drinking, partying, all of that. I got into sales. And I've been in a sales environment for a couple of years, and the same thing, I went into it so nervous, thinking that everyone was going to think I was weird and how was I going to fit in. And I had so many amazing, it started with the bosses first, really. I had so many incredible bosses that actually respected it and acknowledged it and really, really made me feel confident and okay about it. Where then so many of my teammates were so accepting and so incredible. And that's an experience that I never really thought I would have, because I think you picture these environments with so many people in them that are partying and really are immersed in that life. And you just think it's impossible to get in an environment like that and be sober. But when you actually do it and you actually have some time under your belt, it really enhances your experience. Like, I'm so proud to be in an environment that I am challenged, and it isn't the easy road out, but I'm able to be in it and be so proud and be so supported by so many people.
Yeah, for sure. And like the other thing too, that's like even the crazier thing about this whole entire thing is that like I don't even feel the need to like go out anymore. Like, it's just not even there, you know? Yep. And it's just like, it's just so funny because, and this is like another thing about like the journey is that like, I remember when I was like out drinking, like I hated Sundays and Mondays. Like, I hated Sundays and Mondays. They were like the worst. Like, I think people say now like Sunday scaries. I've been getting scared. I've been getting scared of Sundays like way before that term was coined. And that was like my least favorite day of the week. And just like how powerful this journey is, like eventually like I'm like getting sober and stuff. And all of a sudden I'm just like, wow, like I really like Sundays and Mondays. Like, these are probably like my favorite day of the week. So it's so funny because like I don't know why that is. Like, I think it's just because it's like a fresh start or something. But now it's like I roll into class Monday, 8 a.m. and I'm like, I've already been up. So I'm like, I'm well awake, and I like sit down like front row of my class and like notebook out, like pen in hand, just like ready, you know what I mean? And everybody else is like walking in, like still got the weekend on them. And like going to the back of the classroom and, you know, like I said before, like there's no judgment there because like I've been there and I know what that feels like. And to be honest too, like if I could do that, I would probably still do that, but I can't do that because I get like way too carried away. So like I say this just to like put a spotlight on like the power of this journey. Like it has the power to literally change your perception on things. So I'm sitting there in the front of class and I'm like fired up, and like it's just crazy because I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, this would like never be me in a million years in the past, but it is because like I've been just like gifted with like this new perception on like so many things. It's almost like you see the world like through like a new pair of glasses almost. You know? Definitely. So and just having those experiences, like those white light experiences where you're just like, wow, it's like great. Like another one too is like I'll be like walking out of my house and I'll be like on my way like to campus, like to the library, and it's like Saturday night, so everybody else is like headed in the opposite direction, like away from campus, and I like have my backpack on, and they're like where are you going, dude? It's like 9 p.m. on a Saturday. I'm like, dude, I'm going to the library, like I have stuff to do, you know? So and like honestly, like I love that. Like I really do like enjoy like being able to like study and like being able to like take academics like seriously. And you know, I want to like go to school like after I graduate too. So like I kind of have to if I like want to achieve like what I want to achieve. But yeah, and then there's the other part of it too, where it's like, you know, I've had that experience that like everybody's having. You know, like I've had that, like I know what that's like for me. So it's like I just don't even like really feel a need to like indulge in that anymore because like I've been there and I like wrote it out and I literally like milked it and squeezed as much enjoyment of it as I could out of it, and now like there's no more like left, you know? So and I know that today, like I know it's a progressive illness, right? So like if I went back today, like I honestly believe that I would not get any enjoyment out of it. I would just be right back to where I was. So.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the exact same way, where I feel like that's the best perspective to have, is to have zero judgment. Like I think a lot of people get nervous when I'm around them and they're drinking and that I'm going to judge them or something like that. It's really like I have zero judgment, because if you think you might look silly now, like I've lived through it all. And I'm able to have the perspective where I'm able to see and think, I'm really glad that I'm not doing that anymore, because that didn't fulfill me and I didn't get anything out of that, and clearly had a problem with it. However, I'm not going to judge anyone who wants to continue to do that, and everyone's on their own path and their own journey. But I'm really glad that I was able to, I'm almost happy that I had the experience that I did, because I would not be where I am today if I hadn't gone through what I did and get sober young. And I'm glad that I did crash and burn so young, that I was able to make it out on the other side, because I can't even imagine what my life would look like today if I continued with the destructive process and really just cycle
Yeah,
of
for sure.
like even looking back on the good times of it, they really weren't good times. It was
Yeah.
all very altered experiences where if you take that out, the alcohol, I was not really having fun. I was
Yeah.
not happy with myself. I didn't really even know myself. It was more just the more I could fit in, the more that I could look cool, the more that I could impress people with these ideas that aren't even slightly impressive.
Yeah.
I felt like that was my purpose back then. And I'm glad that I was able to get away from that. But speaking of impressive experiences, I want to talk about your ultramarathon because
we can talk about
that is absolutely insane that you were
Yeah.
able to do that. So what made you want to do that?
So before I get into that, I just have one more thing to tack onto that last conversation. And that's like the beauty about getting sober too, is like you kind of have like a say in the person that you want to become.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, like right now I'm just at a point where like I don't really want to, like I know people that are sober that like go out every weekend
Mhm.
and like just don't drink, but they have like a blast, like they have
Yeah.
fun. I know people that like travel the world and like surf, like
Mhm.
and they're sober the whole entire time, and like that's like their thing and they have fun. I know other people that like do things differently, that don't really go out that much, that, you know, it's like you can pick like who you want to become. Like that's like the beauty of it. It's like you have like this total like blank slate, like new canvas, and you can kind of just like whatever direction you want to like go in, like you can kind of like go in that direction. You know, there's
Yeah.
really like no limits to like the person that you can become like through this process, through this journey. But yeah, so with the ultras, what was it? The question was what made me get into that?
What made you want to start doing that?
So running has always been like, it's not, running is like kind of like, I have like a love-hate relationship with running.
Yeah, I
like,
do too.
Okay. And like, I'm glad that you're a runner because like I talk about this with some people and like, they literally like just don't get it. But I feel like you might. Most of the times that like I run, like I do not like actually want to run. Like I just don't want to. And now that being said, like I do have a lot of runs that are enjoyable. I have a lot of days that it's easy for me to get out the door and put on my shoes. But a lot of the times it's like really like not that enjoyable for me to do it. But that's like exactly why I do it, because like running is like that one special thing that just like sucks. Like it just sucks. Like it sucks for everybody involved. Like even if you're good at it, you know what I mean? Like it still is just running. Like it's just not fun. You know what I mean? But that's like what makes it the perfect vehicle to build self-discipline is because it's just not fun. So like if you can like do something like running like every single day, and I'm not saying it's running for everybody. For me, it definitely is. But if you can like find a groove with something that's just like not enjoyable, that's like kind of hard to build up like the mental stamina to get your shoes on and get out the door. Like if you can get in like a movement with that, that like builds like this muscle to where like you become like disciplined, like in life. So I wouldn't say that like I want to, I mean, I am like intrigued by ultras. Like I was like, oh, this seems like a challenge. Like I believe in like challenging myself, you know, like I believe in like pushing myself to my limits so I can find out where my limits are, because if I'm not pushing myself, then I'm not going to like know my true potential, you know? So, and that's like something that I do. Like when I did that ultra, one of the quotes that I was like kept throwing up was like, obstacles don't block the path, they are the path. And I believe that. It's like, I feel like for me, it's just like, I need like as many obstacles in the way as possible so I can like be pushed to my limits and I can like discover. Cause like I didn't get sober to kind of just like hang out. Like I didn't. Like I got sober to take risks. I got sober to like self-discover. I got sober to like find out like where my edge is and find out like what my true potential is. And ultra is the perfect avenue to figuring that out. Yeah. And I heard somebody talk about ultra, and I have yet to like put it in better words myself. So I'm kind of just going to go off what they say. But basically like ultra provides you with like life experience in high definition. When you're out there and you're running and you're like 35 miles in, like 40 miles in, something like happens where like you get like these surges of like emotions, and they change very quickly. So like I could be feeling good, and then I'm feeling bad. and then I'm feeling just okay, and then I'm feeling like great, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling driven, motivated, and then I'm back to feeling terrible. And you go through these like emotions like so quickly. And you kind of just have to like sit in it and just like not be like overwhelmed by like the emotional like turmoil that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And doing that, like when I finish like an ultra, and by the way, an ultra marathon is something that's over 26 miles. It's over a marathon.
Way over.
Yeah. So when I finish something like that, I feel like I've like lived like 5 years just in like that 12 hours or whatever it took me to like run that race.
That's
That's because like the emotional like switching is like, so it's in high definition. So you're like feeling all these emotions that, because when we live like a regular like day, like our emotions are pretty stable for the most part, right? Like if we're happy, we're probably happy for like a couple hours, maybe even it bleeds into the next day, you know, like our emotions are like pretty much like stable. But ultra, it's like not that way at all. So whenever I like come out of a race like that, it's just like always like, wow, like that was just so much and like so like short of a time period. Like I need to like digest it and like process it. And the other cool thing too about like running those races and just running in general is like running is one of those things that like can correlate into every other aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Every other aspect of your life. You don't just run an ultra and just like leave it there on the trail, on the course. You take all of that experience with you. Like you take that into academics. You take that into the classroom. You take that into family. And you're able to like, because when you're running, like it's that voice comes up, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And it's like telling you that like, you should just stop. Like you bit off more than you can chew. You should slow down. You should stop. A lot of the times, like I'm in the middle of nowhere when I'm running an ultra. So like nobody would even really know, you know what I mean? But you can't listen to that voice. And if you get really good at not listening to that voice and you push through and you finish, then it's like, okay, let's say it's 12 a.m. and I have an organic chemistry exam tomorrow morning and I haven't been able to look at my books all night. Well, that voice is going to come back and it's the same voice that talks to me out there on that ultramarathon course. But it's just coming at me from a different angle with like, oh, you should just go to bed. Let's not even look at the stuff. Like, you're fine. Let's wake up early tomorrow morning and you can do it then. But it's like, no, like I'm doing what I need to do right now. And then I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to wake up and I'll be fine, you know? But it's just like strengthening that muscle of like not listening to that voice, like when it comes up. And ultra like is a very good like way to like practice like getting really good at that, I feel like.
Yeah, that's epic. I have never done, so obviously I'm a runner too, but I've never done anything even remotely close to that experience. So I can relate in very small ways where like my long run's been like 14 miles, which is probably your first warm up for it. But I definitely understand that. I feel like running just helps me with every capacity of life because exactly what you're saying, if you're able to listen to yourself and really battle yourself and really in life, that's all it comes down to. We think about these other people and get caught up in these external fights and it's really all just a distraction because at the end of the day, it's just you against you.
Exactly.
Your entire life. And the people that make it the farthest, the people that are the most successful, are winning the battle against themselves.
Exactly.
They're just pushing past what everyone else is feeling and giving into in their own internal battles. And if you're able to get past yourself, you're just going to make it so much further in life.
Exactly.
Absolutely so much further. So I think that's incredible. And I feel fired up after listening to that. I want to start running further now.
Yeah. Well, like the other cool thing too about ultra is that like, which separates it like from like just marathon, half marathon running is that like when you show up to an ultra, you just get this vibe and you can just tell that like everybody is there. Like you said, it's like you versus you. It's not like if you're at like a marathon or like a half marathon or like a collegiate like track race or whatever, it's not you versus you. It's you versus the other guy. It's you versus the other team. And everybody's got like their fancy like gear and the newest shoes and like glasses. When you race ultra, like you'll see that like nobody has like any like this guy like people's like water packs are like falling off their back, like the shoes are beat up, and like it's just like it's not about like any of that. It's just about like you versus you. Like nobody is really there to like race each other.
Yeah.
They're just there to like push themselves to the limit.
Yeah.
And that's like another really cool thing that's cool about ultra. And I just remember like feeling that for the first time, and I was just like, wow, like this is like I'm glad that I like signed up for this and did this before I even finished the race. You know, I was just like feeling that way. And then the other cool thing too about ultra that I'll say is that another thing that it teaches you that's kind of like correlational into life is it makes you like really good at like chunking. And so like when I'm like running and like my watch is clicking like mile 35, mile 40, I can't be like telling myself in that moment that like I still have like a marathon to go because like that is just way too overwhelming. So like what I have to do is I have to like break it down and literally look at it in very small increments. So like, let me just make it through this next mile. Sometimes it's like just this next half mile. Sometimes it's like just this next step. Sometimes it's like, let me just get to this aid station. And it teaches you how to like chunk things together and just look at like the very small next step and don't even worry about the rest of the process.
Yeah.
And then when you're done with that, then I'll worry about the next small step. And then before you know it, it's like you put all those things together and it's like you're crossing the finish line.
Yeah.
You know? And that's like very applicable in life too, especially like if you have like lofty goals or you have places that you want to go. It's like a lot of the times like you can look at that process and become very overwhelmed because it's a big process. There's a lot of steps. It requires a lot of work, a lot of time. And it's like you're way more effective and better if you can be practical and you can like look at it in like small little windows. And that's like a hard skill to kind of build. And ultra kind of has helped me out just in understanding like the importance of that and being able to like apply it into life and running.
Definitely.
So.
I know I look at my life all the time and get overwhelmed. I think I need to accomplish all of this stuff. And sometimes when you look at life like that too, it makes you not grateful for where you are right now. Because I think I have all this yet to go. I still have to do this. I still have to do that. And really, I've already gotten through so much. I've already made it so far. But when you think about just that finish line, sometimes it's just overwhelming where you're not grateful for where you are right now. And all you're thinking about is when I get there, then I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
And if you think like that, you're really never going to be happy.
Yeah, it's so true. And like, that's really hard. It's a really hard concept, I feel like, to wrap your head around. But like the destination is in the journey. Like the journey is like the ultimate like arrival point. Like the destinations are just like side effects of the actual journey, you know? And like that's why like I try to stay like, because it's very hard. It's very hard. Like, because I know you have like big goals too. It's like when you have like big goals and you have like places you want to be, that requires you to like think in the future and it requires you to plan. And if you do too much of that, it's like you get stuck in the future, you know? And so you kind of have to like figure out like that balance of like having lofty goals, but also like enjoying moments and being present. And that's like a hard balance to find, you know? But I think that if you can find that balance, you will undoubtedly be very successful. And I think it's just like makes you like happier too, because you're just like enjoying the process. You're just like enjoying the journey.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like right now I've gotten to the point where I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied.
Yeah.
But I feel like no matter what, I'm never going to be satisfied.
Yeah.
So you have to make yourself be happy along the journey. You have to give yourself smaller goals and smaller steps to be able to get through, that you're able to enjoy it and you're able to actually be happy with yourself and what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's like very important to like never be satisfied.
Yeah.
Like, because that is just a killer. Like that is like complacency is just like, and I feel like there's no like direct like antidote to complacency. Like we do get complacent and we do have these moments in life where we become complacent and we have to like figure out a way around it and we learn from it and then we get back on track. Yeah. And that's like another reason why, and I know you're like-minded too, probably in this way, but I always like to have things like in front of me that like goals or like races or whatever you might have it that I do not think I'm capable of doing. Because like if I think that I can like for sure do this or for sure like accomplish this, and like for example like with school, it was like my original degree that I was in, I was like, I know that I can do this. I know that I can finish out this degree and I know that I can like go work in this field. Like I can totally like see that happening for myself. Like there's no challenge there, you know? So like, I think it's very important for, and I'll just speak for myself, for me to like continue to put things in front of me that I do not think I'm capable of achieving.
Yeah.
That I think like, okay, maybe like if I worked this hard, like on these days and like this goes in my favor and that goes in my favor, then like maybe it'll end up happening. But like, I don't know for sure, you know? And I think like when you operate like that and when you have like these like lofty goals in front of you, it just like, you know, like I was talking about earlier, it's like brings out that true potential, like shows you where your limits are, like shows you like what you're really capable of achieving, you know? So.
Yeah, I like to do a lot of things that really scare me.
Yeah.
But I also like to think I've tried to switch my mindset, and it's definitely a taught internal voice where no matter what it is, I can do it. And I've gotten that from watching a lot of other podcasts and listening to a lot of other people talk, that you almost have to be completely insane with your level of self-belief, that because so many people in life are going to tell you you can't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you just have to truly believe and just tell yourself again and again and again. And at first it is fake. You're faking it till you make it, and just continuing to think that, no, I can do it. Yeah. I absolutely can do it. But I think it is initially you do believe you can't. And the more you tell yourself again and again and again, eventually you'll just start to believe it, that no matter what, I'm doing it. Or I more so think that it is, at least for me, no matter what, I'm going to do it. It's not a question if I can or I can't, I'm going to. Yeah.
And that's like the other thing too. Like you talk about like being crazy, and like when I think that's a very important point to talk about, because like for me, like when I am misunderstood by somebody, I take that as like a compliment. I take that as like an affirmation that I'm in the right spot, that I'm still on the path. Because like, I don't want to be like the same as everybody else. Like I want to learn how to be different. I want to learn how to be okay with being different. I want to learn how to trust myself and how to make like good decisions, you know? So when people like think, because I get this a lot at school too, because like I like study a lot. So like people will see me like I said, like going to the library on like Saturday night. It's just like, you know, like when you're like talking to somebody and like they give you that look and they're just like, what are you even like talking about right now? You know what I mean? Like I get that, and I'm just like, all right, good. Like I'm going in the right direction. You know what I mean? Because like to get to like where we want to go, we have to be different. Like we have to be different. Like we can't be the same as everybody else. And I think that like just changing like your perception on that like can make you like a lot better, and it's made me a lot better, just understanding that like, look, like I'm gonna be understood, and like that's okay. Like not everybody needs to like me right now. You know?
Exactly. And I mean that it's proven true in history. The people that make the biggest impacts, they're loved and they're hated. Nobody is liked. And I know, and that's something you have to sit with yourself. I know a lot of people dislike me a lot for things I've done and things I've said and beliefs I have. And I know people very much support me, and I have great relationships and all of that. But I would rather be in the place I am today, be completely authentically myself, than just be coasting where everyone kind of likes me. No one has something terrible to say, but no one has anything that great either, because you're just constantly trying to blend in. And I know a lot of parts of myself can be extremely misunderstood, and I've tried to find myself and find my style and just completely be okay with being different is something that's challenging at first, but now something that I'm extremely proud of. Because when I look back and I look at decisions I've made to fit in, none of those decisions were good. I completely betrayed myself, and those are things that'll start to weigh on yourself. And when you're sober, it's something that you just can't have. When you're constantly drinking and constantly numbing yourself, you can kind of just that cycle of, okay, I'm doing things that doesn't really match up with my morals or who I was or how I was brought up and who I want to be, but I'll just forget it when I start to drink. So I don't care anymore. When you're sober, you really have to love yourself, and you really have to build a version of yourself that you love and that you're okay with waking up every single day sober and being okay with and loving.
Yeah, you don't have like that crutch anymore.
Yeah.
And it gets really real, like when you don't have that in your life anymore, and you really have to just like focus on like building somebody that like you're okay with. And that's a process. That's like a process. It's not something that can just happen like in a week or in like 2 weeks. You know, it takes like some real effort and some real work.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's something I was just thinking about, how long it takes. I mean, we're right around the same time, actually. I just got 4 years.
Yeah, congratulations.
And thank you. But I just think of a million different versions of myself in that 4 years, because I was finding what I like to do, what I actually am doing, because of me, and what I'm actually doing just to try to fit in, just try to appease others. And that's something that I feel like is my last step. I'm a terrible people pleaser, and that's something that I'm working on getting away from. And there's just continuous steps. I just think about every single year, different steps that I've accomplished and more steps that I want to keep accomplishing. So it's a constantly evolving journey.
For really. Sure. And I think it's like so important too, because I have also gone through like a bunch of different identities while I was getting sober, because like I said, it's like a totally clean slate. Like you can go in so many different directions. Yeah. A lot of the time that's overwhelming, because you've like so many different like avenues of life that you could choose. And it's just like, it's inevitable that you're going to fail. Yeah. It's inevitable. And like, you just have to pick something. Just pick something and like, just try to be it. And if it doesn't like fit you, if you don't like it, if you don't enjoy it, then like, well, now you know what you don't want to do. So now you're like the, process of elimination, and for me, I was the same way, like I thought I wanted to like not go back to school. I thought I wanted to like do all these other things. And like, just through like that process of just like taking the chance, like taking the leap, taking the jump, I was able to like discover like what I really am like passionate about and what I really do want to pursue. And the other thing too about like being different is like, I've found that, being different like isn't really like that hard. Like I feel like all you really have to do is just be yourself. Like if you can just be yourself, like you'll be different. You'll be different. And that'll also like eliminate a bunch of the other options and make it just more straightforward as to like what you want to like pursue, like what's your purpose, So I think a lot of the time like it's just like me just trying to like be myself. Like I just try to like be myself, and I think that just by doing that, like that makes me like different than other people around me. Definitely.
And again, something that you have to find within yourself and continue to fake it till you make it, for sure, with that, because I remember initially always that voice, that the same voice you get when you're running, the same voice when you want to give up, constantly telling me that's really weird, you can't do that, you can't say that, and just fighting off those voices until you're able to be 100% authentically yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's like, again, like why I love running so much, because it just puts you in the position to like, you're just more conditioned to that voice. You're more conditioned to like what it's going to tell you. And you're just like, you're prepared. Like you're prepared when like life hits you. Cause like we know like life is going to hit us. Like that is just inevitable. So like, I'm like trying to be prepared when that happens, and when like a death in the family, like heartbreak, like breakup, like losing your job, like losing like whatever it might be, it's like all the same kind of like adversity, like it's universal, you know what I mean? Same voice in your head. So like if you can get really good at like talking to that voice, even though it sucks, like even though it's miserable, even though it like it might require you like wake up extra early so you can fit it all in. I believe that it is like so necessary to like to do it, to face those demons, and to really like just lean into the discomfort as best as you can. And for me, like there has been like a significant payoff just by doing that. So that's why like I think, as we first initially started talking about, it's like pain in sobriety is so important. Like I was like this close to like just saying like, yeah, like, being sober young is like, it's great. It's awesome. Like it's all butterflies and rainbows, but like, it's really like, it is that on some days, like it is that. And I'm glad that I'm living this life. Like I really am. It's the best life I've ever lived, for sure. But there's still a lot of challenges. Like there's still like so much, like so many things that are hard to deal with. And I wouldn't want it any other way, because it's just like, it allows you to grow.
Yeah. And that's the main reason I even started this podcast, was because I felt like I was still only talking about the great parts of sobriety. I would post on Instagram once a year and talk about how great it is. Now I'm sober, now this, that, and another thing. There's a lot of parts that are absolutely terrible and very challenging, but it's just life that happiness doesn't feel as great unless you've been through pain. You're not able to appreciate things unless you've been through pain. So I'm very grateful for all of the hard experiences that I've gotten through too.
And if sobriety was just like problem free, like totally great all the time, like just on a beach somewhere, like I don't think I would stay sober, like to be honest, because like I think like as humans, like we are just like, you know, we have to like deal with problems. Like I feel like as much as we hate it, like it really does give our lives like a lot of purpose. Yeah. And you know, just allows us to like become the best version of ourselves. So.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and having these conversations.
No problem.
I really think that people listening to your journey, you can help a lot of people, especially people that are going back to college campuses or want to get sober young and don't know what that's like. And definitely inspiring a lot of other people to get involved in things that challenge themselves, like ultramarathons or just a regular marathon for a start or whatever it may be.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful that, you asked me to join.
Of course.
I'm David Millar, and I just got real.
Thanks for tuning in and getting real with us. Podcasts will be posted every other Wednesday on Spotify and YouTube. Please reach out via DM if you want to chat.